Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're talking about Elizabeth Marsh, a truly remarkable world traveler and author. But to really understand her, to get to the heart of her incredible adventures, we have to go back to the very beginning. And I mean, before she was even born. We need to explore the wild, dangerous world that made her.
So yeah, this is the story of Elizabeth Marsh. But it doesn't really start with her. It begins with the brutal, dynamic, and frankly deadly world that brought her parents together.
So let's set the scene. We're in the 1730s, on the island of Jamaica. And let me tell you, this place was Britain's most profitable Caribbean colony. It was a money-making machine, but it was also its most lethal. A place of just staggering wealth and constant, ever-present danger.
So you arrive on the island, and the first place you hit is Port Royal. Now, this city once rivaled Boston as a major hub, but then a catastrophic earthquake literally swallowed 2/3 of it. So what's left is this shadow of its former self, a place haunted by its violent past, but still simmering with opportunity for anyone who is brave enough, or maybe just desperate enough, to go for it.
The island's incredible wealth, all that sugar money, it was built on the backs of almost 80,000 enslaved Africans. Now get this, they outnumbered the white population by more than 10 to 1. Think about that for a second. 10 to 1. That's a society built on violence, just simmering with tension.
And yet, for all that brutality, Jamaica was a surprisingly cosmopolitan place. It was this chaotic mix of people from all over the Atlantic world. You had your English Protestants, sure, but also Scots and Irish, Portuguese-speaking Jews, French Huguenots, Dutch traders, American colonists, not to mention spies and smugglers, the whole shebang. Everyone was there trying to get a piece of the pie, in a place where life was notoriously cheap. Okay, so into this powder keg of a world sails a guy named Milbourne Marsh. He's a young Englishman, he's got a really valuable skill, and he's got a bit of a gambler's nerve. And he is going to be Elizabeth Marsh's father.
Now Milbourne's job put him in a really unique position. He wasn't a fancy gentleman officer dining with the captain, but he wasn't just a common sailor either. As a ship's carpenter, he was a master craftsman. His skills were absolutely indispensable for keeping these giant wooden warships from falling apart in those treacherous, worm-infested waters.
And this guy, Milbourne, he was smart, ambitious. He wasn't just lucky, he was a survivor who knew how to play the system. He arrives on one ship, it's riddled with fever. He sees an opening on another because the carpenter died. Boom, he grabs the promotion. Then he switches ships again to avoid having to go fight on land. He was cleverly navigating this deadly naval bureaucracy, hopping from ship to ship to get more pay and, crucially, to stay alive.
So it's in Port Royal that all of Milbourne's hustle meets a golden opportunity. And that opportunity's name was Elizabeth Evans. She was a young widow, and she had just inherited a drink shop, a small boat, and 9 enslaved people. To a working-class craftsman from England like Milbourne, this was a mind-boggling amount of wealth.
But, there is always a twist, right? Her late husband, James Evans, seems to have suspected something was going on between his wife and this new carpenter in town. And in his will, he left one last, bitter message from beyond the grave.
I mean, this will is an absolute masterpiece of revenge. Evans leaves everything to his wife, with one very strange exception. An enslaved man named Marsh was to be shipped away from the island forever. The catch? No one named Marsh actually existed on his property list. It was a thinly veiled, cruel, and very public shot at his rival, Milbourne Marsh.
Well, James Evans dies soon after, and wouldn't you know it, Milbourne and Elizabeth get married. But the identity of this woman, the future mother of our adventurer, it's a complete mystery. And it's a mystery her own family would later try their best to erase.
And this is so central to her story. Who was she? Was she the daughter of a destitute white woman scraping by on charity? Or, as one source hints, was she a person of fractions, the unrecorded mixed-race child of a wealthy white planter and an enslaved African woman? We will probably never know for certain, but that mystery itself tells you so much about the hidden realities of this colonial world.
So, they get married, and almost immediately, their new future and the future of their unborn child is thrown into serious danger, because Jamaica is about to explode. The island's brutal system of slavery was facing its biggest challenge yet. Escaped slaves known as Maroons were waging a brilliant guerrilla war from the mountains, and pure panic was gripping the white population. One settler actually wrote, "We cannot say we are sure of another day."
So they're trapped. Elizabeth is 6 months pregnant. They make a desperate choice. They have to flee. And once again, Milbourne's status as a carpenter is their ticket out. He pulls some strings, uses his connections, and gets passage for his pregnant wife aboard a Royal Navy warship, the HMS Kingston, which, by the way, was officially all-male space. This was a huge gamble.
And they make it. They arrive safely in Portsmouth in August of 1735. Just 1 month later, their daughter is born, the new Elizabeth Marsh. She's born into a world that was a safe haven from the one they fled, but it was a whole new kind of frontier in itself.
Back in England, Elizabeth's future is going to be shaped by two really powerful and very different men. First, her father, Melbourne, a man of the sea, all hands on skill and physical risk. You could call it the power of the sword. And then you have her uncle, George. He was a man of the office, of paperwork and bureaucracy. He embodied the rising power of the pen. Now, Milbourne's life back on land was more stable, but it was still rocky. He faced a lot of envy from his own workmen. They even accused him of embezzlement, and then he witnessed the absolute carnage of the Battle of Toulon. That one experience was enough. It convinced him to leave the sea for good, choosing the safety of his family over the risks of war.
So for the next 10 years, the Marsh family lived a pretty modest life in the dockyards. But while Milbourne had settled down, his younger brother George's relentless ambition was about to change absolutely everything for them.
See, George was a master of the system. He worked his way up, mastering all the paperwork and data of the Navy's administration. He understood how power and patronage worked, and in 1755, he leveraged all that growing influence to get his older brother a life-altering promotion.
The results were just staggering. The new job as naval officer in Minorca came with a salary of £150 a year. That's more than a 275% pay raise. It catapulted the family overnight from the upper station of low life, as they called it, firmly into the ranks of the gentry.
And here's how you know it was real. For the very first time, newspaper announcements started referring to the former ship's carpenter as Milbourne Marsh, Esquire. That little "esque" at the end of his name, that was a formal, public recognition of this monumental shift in their social status, all thanks to the brother who wielded a pen, not a hammer.
And so, in 1755, the family prepared to leave England for the Mediterranean. Elizabeth Marsh was no longer just a shipwright's daughter from Portsmouth, she was now the daughter of a gentleman on the move. And this transformation, born from the chaos of Jamaica and the ambitions of London, was about to set the stage for an absolutely unimaginable future.